Our awesome producer Killa Kev is fighting that right now. If our transmission goes out, it's because Kev got taken to the land of Oz in the tornado. So we will try to roll in here. Huck, I know we've got an awesome weekend coming up, but before we get to that, how was your past week?
My past weekend was really good, man. Enjoyed the weekend with the wife. Celebrated my anniversary, which is officially Thursday, April 6th is my official actual anniversary. We're recording this on a Wednesday, so tomorrow's my actual anniversary. But, just relaxing with the wife and stuff, Friday and Saturday, Sunday afternoon, and then about 5 o'clock I plopped myself in front of the TV and my phone and my laptop and started watching WrestleMania.
Well, getting back to your anniversary, though, your anniversary weekend, were you able to sleep in until noon every day?
No, we did not sleep in until noon every day, unfortunately. We were up Saturday, we were up about 9 o'clock, but we enjoyed ourselves, went and got brunch, and went to IHOP, got brunch and stuff, and then we went shopping, and she spent a bunch of money, and I was the dutiful husband and stuff, and, carried all the bags.
Well, hey, before we get into WrestleMania discussion, I did like how your wife posted that you beat Cena to the punch by getting engaged in the ring well before John Cena ever did.
Exactly. He stole my gimmick. The only difference is I actually proposed in the wrestling ring before the show. Me myself personally, I feel like, with the exception of maybe Joey Ron, most guys who propose during a show, it's too attention seeking. You don't really have to share your engagement with every freaking body. Just people who actually matter. Your friends, loved ones, things like that. So yeah, with the exception of Joey Ron, I think everybody else, it's just an attention thing.
Okay, awesome. Are you going to ask me about my weekend?
I'm going to ask about your weekend and the mashed potato bar.
Well, let me start off with the wedding that we went to was beautiful and lovely. My wife looked gorgeous. I looked kind of spiffy, and get to the reception, open bar. So I had a couple of gin and tonics. My beautiful bride had vodka and club soda with lime. It was a lovely affair. And the mashed potato bar, it was good. I wouldn't say that it was great, but it was good. They had 3 different types of mashed potatoes. They had garlic mashed potatoes, they had chipotle mashed potatoes, and they had some sort of cheese mashed potatoes. They had different fixins. They had, chives. They had bacon bits. They had butter, sour cream, cheese, horseradish. So it was a lovely affair. It was good. I think I had 3 bowls of mashed potatoes. I think I had each of the different style of mashed potatoes, and it was lovely.
And which was your favorite type of mashed potato?
Oh, it was the garlic mashed potatoes. I love garlic mashed potatoes. Do you have Buca di Beppo down by you?
No, we don't. It's
a chain of Italian restaurants, but their garlic mashed potatoes are the best, and this was pretty close to it. They were really good garlic mashed potatoes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to find some friends who are getting married and tell them to have a mashed potato bar so I can try this stuff out.
Well, next time you're a promoter says, hey, I really respect your opinion, Huck. What did you think of the show? How was it run? All that. And you can say, oh, it was great. This match maybe should have been picked up a little bit earlier, blah, 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 blah. And then you say, but really for back here, you should have had a mashed potato bar. You don't have to pay anybody except for me as long as you have a mashed potato bar.
I'm gonna see how that works. I don't know if any of the boys are gonna be willing to work for a mashed potato bar. I think it might be duly appreciated, but I don't think that's gonna be the only. Well, it's better than a hot dog and a soda, but
All right. Well, I definitely want to talk about everything that happened this past weekend in the land of WWE. But before we do that, I do want to plug some upcoming things because it's going to be a great weekend here in Indiana. On Friday night in Carmel, Indiana, it's going to be an amazing show where I will be a part of it. It is called Fearless, and it's put on by Wrestling Theology Fellowship. It is a free event. We do ask that you donate at the door, but nobody's going to be turned away. And it's going to be headlined by Bushwhacker Luke, WWE Hall of Famer Bushwhacker Luke. He's taking on an awesome guy named Dale Patricks. Also, it will be TNA Knockouts champion Rosemary, current TNA Knockouts champion Rosemary, taking on Miss Hannah, and Cody Deaner, former TNA star Cody Deaner, will be taking on former WWE star and a friend of ours, Ricardo Rodriguez. So it should be an awesome show in Carmel this coming Friday night. And please look up WTF Wrestling Theology Fellowship for information about that. As I said, it's going to be a free show. We do ask that you donate at the door, but if nobody's going to be turned away. Saturday night. Tell us about what's going on Saturday night in Valparaiso, Indiana, Huck.
Oh yeah, Saturday night, man, is the night. Smash Funk Wrestling presents Smash Fest. It's their big, huge fan fest of the year. You have all kinds of stars there. Raven is the former ECW original. Raven is the general manager for the night. Just so many names, just so many, legends and current stars and current TNA stars. One of the matches I'm really looking forward to seeing is Eddie Edwards versus his tag team partner and tag team partner, best friend, whatever, Davey Richards. I'm really looking forward to seeing that match. But the main event is myself, Sugar Dunkerton, Indiana Cruiserweight legend Troy Miller, GPA, WWE legend Marty Jannetty, and the champion Drew Skills in a six-pack challenge. I want to say it's an elimination match for the Smash Funk Heavyweight Championship. The bad thing is that I like the majority of the people in the match. I really like Troy Miller, even though he's tried to steal my job on this podcast several times. I look to Sugar D as a mentor and stuff. He's somebody that always gives me great advice, especially being from the South. Marty Jannetty, grew up watching him and stuff. GPA is a great, solid wrestler. But I'm really looking forward to finally getting my hands on Drew Skills. Like, that's what this weekend's going to be all about, is me beating up Drew Skills.
Well, some other names on the card, all three members of Impact Wrestling's Decay. It is Abyss, who's held more championships in TNA Impact than anybody else, I think. His tag team partner, Crazy Steve, and Rosemary will be at that show. You mentioned Raven. Bushwhacker Luke, I'll be there with Bushwhacker Luke. You mentioned both members of the American Wolves. Angelina Love will be there. Former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Rob Conway will be there. Kevin Thorne, who's one of our friends, he'll be there, but he'll be as Mordecai there. So that's an interesting dynamic. Shannon Moore from Wood. Shannon Moore will be there. Swoggle is going to be there, formerly Hornswoggle. Zach Gowen, who's amazing. A woman that's been in the news lately, Chelsea Green, who is on Impact Wrestling as Laurel Van Ness. She'll be there. And Colin will be there. Cody Deaner. As you said, Hills will be there. Anthony Toatelli will be there. It should be a great night. And Bobby Eaton again. Oh, and I didn't mention Matt Stryker will be there also with Ricardo Rodriguez. So it should just be an amazing event on Saturday night in Valparaiso, Indiana. That's at Inman's Bowling Alley. For information about that, look up Smash Mouth Pro Wrestling on Facebook, and you can find out all the information on how you can get tickets to that. And then Sunday, I'll also be in Fort Wayne, Indiana for Heroes and Legends Wrestling. I'll be there with my buddy Bushwhacker Luke, and a couple other names that you might have heard of will be there. Guys like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. So, Indiana is the place to be. And also at Heroes and Legends, our buddies the Razor Ramones will be playing again. So hopefully they won't be no-sold like they were last time by Scott Steiner.
I wish the Razor Ramones could show up at Smash Fest. Like, I really like them, and like, of course, I've worn my Razor Ramones T-shirt everywhere. To the point where, like, it ended up being a conversation starter between me and, I guess, Cassius Ohno, if that's what you want to call him now.
Uh-huh.
He saw my Razor Ramones T-shirt. We were at a show backstage in the locker room, and he saw my Razor Ramones T-shirt, and he looked, he was like, "That's a great band." I was like, "Yeah," like you said, I first heard him at, like, Heroes and Legends in Indiana, and, like, we've been cool ever since. And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Colt Cabana put me up on them." He's like, "I really like that band." I was like, "Word. Cool." So.
I think that Hero probably knows Rex Razor Sharp from the IWA Mid-South days, actually. He might not know that Rex is a part of the Razor Ramones, but I think that they know each other through the old IWA Mid-South days. So, all right. Well, are you ready to talk some WWE stuff, or is there anything that you want to talk about before?
No, we go ahead and talk about the weekend that was WrestleMania.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first thing, what was your match of the weekend?
My match of the weekend, and I called it. And I told everybody it was going to be the sleeper match of the night, and it was. It was the sleeper match of the weekend, and it was AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon was my favorite match put on by the WWE Corporation this weekend, hands down, bar none.
Well, why do you say that?
Because, first of all, I've already said before, and I said it last week in the show, Shane McMahon has really never had a bad match. And, okay, a lot of it you can say is because of the talent he's been in the ring with, but this guy, Shane McMahon, can work. You can tell that he has a lot of respect for our business. You can tell that he tries and he trains really hard. He's not one of these guys, not one of these owners who just believes, "Oh, well, I own the company. I can do what I want. I don't have to train." Like, you can tell that he put in the training time. You can tell that he's a very athletic guy. And the fact that Shane McMahon attempted a shooting star press was unfreaking believable. They told a great story. They told a great story where AJ Styles assumed that Shane McMahon was going to try to go out there and just do some crazy wild stuff, and then Shane actually wrestled. For the longest time, actually wrestled, and it was a great story that they told. Man, I was surprised that they actually put that match first. Actually.
Well, isn't part of putting that style of match on first to get the crowd into it before having to bring them back down? Don't you normally put like a cruiserweight spot fest on at the beginning of your show so that way you've got fans interested?
Well, I understand that, but I wouldn't have put. There were so many other matches after seeing that match in the rest of WrestleMania, the rest of the show. I would not have put that match so low on the card. I understand that it wasn't a title match. I understand that, there was really no big stipulation or whatever, but just watching that match and then watching the rest of the show, I wouldn't have put that match first.
Well, but you do understand that was technically the fourth match on the card.
Yes, trust me, I do. Oh, man, dude, like 8 hours of wrestling almost. Jesus.
Well, I think my favorite match, and I don't know if it was a technical masterpiece or not, but my favorite match from beginning to the end was the four-way ladder match for the Raw Tag Team Championship. I thought it was awesome. I wasn't shocked when the Hardy Boys were announced, but I was happy when they were announced. And I thought, sometimes ladder matches can turn into big spot fest. I think that they were pretty restrained. All four teams were pretty restrained, and everybody looked believable in there. Even guys like Enzo Amore, who I normally just think great on the mic, not great in the ring. He came with it and was aided by Big Cass in a few different cool spots. I thought that was a very, very entertaining match. So I don't know. It's like 4 days later, and I can't really think of any matches to me that stood out more than that one.
I feel like that match stood out, Zane, because even though like the majority of the world knew that the Hardys were coming to WWE, it's just the fact of actually seeing them in the ring is what really did it for a lot of people. I agree with you. Like that, I think that match stood out mainly because the Hardy Boys were in it, and you were kind of at first it was kind of like, are they gonna pull a switch on us? Is Vince gonna actually pull a switch on us and put the New Day in this match? And then when the music hit and the entire 75,000 people in the crowd, 75,000 plus people in the crowd all stood up. That's what made that match really memorable.
Yeah. What did you think about the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal?
Yeah. First of all, I as a football fan, I hate Gronkowski. I love the security guard, though. My favorite part of the entire Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal was the female security guard who tried to stop him from coming over the barrier. I don't know if anybody smartened her up to where that was like, hey, this is going to happen. But the fact that she went there and tried to stop him, she's like 5'2", and of course Gronkowski's a professional NFL football player. Her jumping in the way and trying to stop him was unfreaking believable.
That was awesome, and then the referees are running over to her to basically get her out of the way. I thought that was great. If you watch right after Gronkowski gets in the ring, you see Charles Wright, Lil H, talking to her and kind of thanking her, and watch that back again. You can see them talk, Charles Wright and the security guard talking for a second. But thank you for bringing that up. I did pop for that.
Yeah, other than that, I think, Mojo, I was kind of disappointed that Braun Strowman and Big Show went out as early as they did. That's the one thing I don't really like about Battle Royals is that, the big guys who should be dominating or whatever the Battle Royal always ends up, getting thrown out early. But I think I have no real big quarrels with Mojo winning the Battle Royal whatsoever. He has a good size, he has a good look. He's really over with the fans and stuff, so it's not a bad thing for him to go over whatsoever.
My only complaint was that it ended with the big tackle spot on Jinder Mahal. So it was Gronk in there with Jinder Mahal and Mojo Rawley, and I'm sorry, I never for a second thought Jinder Mahal would have a chance to win. So if they would have had somebody just a little more credible in there, I think it would have been a little bit better, but maybe nobody else wanted to do that spot for Gronkowski, So I like that Killian Dane was in there and he made it to the final three. I thought that was great. Boost his profile, because even for big NXT fans, they might not know Killian Dane or Big Damo as he used to be called. So I thought that was a great thing for him too.
Yeah, I thought he had a really good showing. For a whole second, I really felt like they was going to give him the nod. It almost looked, he was just believable enough that you could almost believe that when it came down to those last four, that it might be him that actually won.
Yeah. Our producer Killer Kev made a good point that the Hardys have won so many world championships in the month since the Anthem cut them. So let's think about this for a second. Has anyone held within a month's time the TNA/Impact Tag Team Championships, the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships, and WWE or Raw Tag Team Championships all within like 3 or 4 weeks of each other?
I don't think so. I think that's the first, once again. That's about the same as, when AJ Styles was in New Japan, ROH, and then WWE within like 2 weeks. That's about that same type of feat right there.
Yeah.
I will say, before we finish talking about the rest of the card, that it's really great that I hope it's a trend that smaller indie companies will see and will start following. It's really cool to see these large companies actually agreeing and getting along with each other. We both know that, 20 years ago, during the Attitude Era, there is no way in hell that WCW would have let the Hardy Boys go just so they could be at WrestleMania. There's no way in hell. You know what I'm saying? It's really cool to see, like, companies like ROH and Evolve and stuff are willing to let their sign talent get released to go to a bigger stage.
Yeah, and I think that it's in their best interest to not piss off WWE, because they can make things a lot harder for guys like ROH and Evolve. Even if they don't have any plans in place right now, they could always make it harder for them to get bookings, that sort of thing. So I do commend ROH for letting the Hardys be able to fill that role. What was your least favorite match from the WrestleMania card?
I would say my least favorite match would be the Triple H Seth Rollins match. Would probably be my least favorite match.
Why is that?
And I'm about to say, this is as a worker standpoint. And even my wife pointed it out, because of course she's watching WrestleMania with me. Even she pointed out that match was so ungodly, unbelievable that it was annoying. They've been playing off Seth Rollins' injured leg, his injured knee and stuff. He'll come back from injury for the last couple of months now. Triple H has attacked it. He's wearing this huge-ass knee brace underneath this even huger fucking knee pad. And then the entire match, he's running around and he's jumping and he's kicking with the bad leg. In my opinion, as a wrestler, as one of the boys in the back, as somebody who likes to believe that he has a modicum of psychology, ding ding, $10 word. It would have been, in my opinion, it would have been a lot better if they would have had Triple H attack the leg and him fighting the entire match to stand up. Like I said, my wife pointed out that he would do a big, huge, impactful move and then would go for the pin, and then afterwards he would sell it. Like he did the frog splash or whatever it was. I'm sorry, he did the 450 and hit the 450, went for the pin, and then after Triple H kicked out, he started grabbing his knee. It would have made a lot more sense to me if he did the 450, hit it, sold off to the side, kind of like how RVD always does his 5-star frog splash, and then crawl or drag himself over for the pin. It was just the most, psychological wise, it was just the most unbelievable out of every match at WrestleMania.
What did you think of Triple H's big badass, I'm going to ride down to the ring on a trike, being accompanied by police on motorcycles, and then Seth Rollins coming out with a torch and lighting the stage bake on fire, and they did Seth Rollins no favors with that entrance.
Really, to tell you the truth, I don't think Triple H did himself any favors with that entrance. It was, in my opinion, it was the worst Triple H entrance ever. And there's a couple of people on social media who agreed with me. It's like, with the exception of seeing Stephanie McMahon, who is probably I would like to compare Stephanie McMahon to Johnny Walker. She just gets better looking as she gets older. She ages so well. Seeing her dressed up like a biker wife and stuff with those tight leather pants was worth watching that horrible, horrible entrance. But this is the guy who came out, dressed as Conan the Barbarian on this huge throne. This is the guy who when he wrestled Sting, came out as the Terminator and stuff. Like, you're used to these big, huge, epic entrances from Triple H, and this one was such a huge letdown.
Oh, okay, fair. My least favorite match, I love Bray Wyatt. I did not get the Randy Orton Bray Wyatt match at all. I didn't get the projection into the ring thing. It completely escaped me why they did that. Of course, I didn't like the finish to it at all. But you can say good things or bad things about that. I just did not get their match at all. What did you think about their match?
I think it was a very safe match. I don't think that was more of a Monday Night Raw match than a WrestleMania match. I felt like they kind of kept it very close they played it very close to the chest. They didn't take any risks. We've seen over the last 10, 15 years what Randy Orton is capable of. And he still has it. His match with Seth Rollins and stuff, man, when they did that, probably the greatest RKO ever from the curb stomp, lets you know the quality and the level of talent that Randy Orton has. It wasn't a bad match, psychology-wise, it was very sound, but to me, it didn't have that WrestleMania urgency. It didn't feel like it was a title match, if that makes sense.
What did you think about the maggots being projected in the ring and the cockroaches and all that gaga that went on?
It would have made more sense to me if Randy Orton would have been laying on his back when it happened. If he had just looked down and seen it and kind of like it was kind of like a distraction, that would have made more sense. But the fact that every time there was a projection, he was already on his back, so he couldn't see what was going on in the ring. It was kind of a distraction to the actual fans more than Randy Orton and stuff. I can see what they were going for, but the execution was just all wrong. Yep,
I totally agree. Other than the main event, is there anything else that you want to touch on from the WrestleMania card?
Man, there's so many matches. Let's see. I'm trying to go through my head. So the John Cena, Nikki Bella, Miz, Maurice match. I like, once again, watching it with my wife, and my wife does not watch wrestling that much at all. But so I gave her the backstory of what was going on. Of course, she saw the video package before the match, and she called it right before the bell rang. She was like, John Cena and them are going to win, and John's going to propose to her. And I was like, do you think so? She's like, yeah. She's like, that's the only reason why they're even wrestling is for him to propose to her. She was like, it would make more sense if you. She was like, I bet you he proposes after the match. She's like, but if I was him, I would propose. She's like, right in the middle of the match, he should propose to her, and then they should go and win. She's like, that'd be a whole lot more fun, or a whole lot more entertaining if he proposes to her during the middle of the match. So, I mean, like I said, that match was okay. But we all know that match was just so that, they can get engaged, he can propose to her and stuff, et cetera, et cetera. Trying to think what other matches
while we're talking about that real quick, I thought Miz was awesome in it. I think that he led that match most of the way, and I thought he was great. And going into that, he and Maurice have been doing some of the best heel work we've seen in a long time for WWE. But go ahead with whatever next match you want to talk about.
I'm trying to think what other matches were there?
Neville defeated Austin Aries to keep the Cruiserweight Championship. I thought that was a good match.
The women's matches. So the Raw women's match disappointed me so bad.
Why?
Because it did, you have the four best female wrestlers on Raw. Maybe the only four female wrestlers on Raw, actually. I was really hoping that it was going to end up being Bayley versus Nia Jax. Of course, I was hoping Nia Jax would win. But I was like, if somebody has to win besides Nia Jax, it should be Bayley. But it should come down to Bayley and Nia Jax. Now you have this cute, bubbly baby face. You got to remember, Zane, I'm from the South. I grew up on Jim Crockett Promotions and Memphis wrestling and stuff like that. So you got this, we're big fans of having this cute little white meat baby face, which you have in Bayley. And then you have this big, evil, monstrous heel in Nia Jax, that whole good versus evil dynamic and stuff. And, I feel like, I love the fact that they all, like, the other three women, Bayley, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, all with the Nia Jax as the threat and stuff. And the triple team moves. And the beginning of the match was very good. I was just so disappointed that she was eliminated first. I really would have enjoyed it so much more if it came down to Bayley and Nia Jax. And some kind of way, Nia Jax slips on a banana peel, and Bayley takes her cookie and then gets the 3-count stuff.
I liked how they eliminated Nia. I thought that was clever, and I thought that it was an okay match. So, go ahead.
So I say the 6-way women's match was probably the clusterfuck of the night. Totally the clusterfuck of the night. But congratulations to Naomi for regaining the title that she never technically lost. But that match was just such a clusterfuck. It felt like it was very rushed. Very, very, very rushed. And a lot of the moves were not clean. A lot of the spots were kind of funky and wonky and stuff. It was just a very unclean match. Still more entertaining than the aforementioned matches. The one match I said I didn't like, the Triple H Rollins match. Still more entertaining than that, but execution-wise, those ladies were not on their game that night.
Well, Seth Rollins and Triple H had bell to bell, 25 and a half minutes. The six women match had bell to bell 5.5 minutes of time. So that tells you what the hierarchy is on the card. For the Lesnar and Goldberg match, I thought that was really well done. For being a little less than 5 minutes, I think that they got a lot of emotion in there. I was afraid that the crowd was going to turn on Goldberg or turn on both of them during that match, and they stayed pretty true. I think that the fans got what they wanted, but Goldberg still got to look kind of like a superhero. So I think that positioned everybody pretty well. What did you think?
Yeah, there was a brief second, with the spears and stuff, and he got him up for the jackhammer. I was like, come on, not again. Like, the whole Goldberg train has ran its fucking course. Like, nobody's going to really believe this. Like, come on. If he beats Lesnar again at WrestleMania, how the hell are you going to beat him now? You know what I'm saying? But I love the fact that it took, the 10 German suplexes, man. I'm a suplex guy, and I love stuff like that, the 10 suplexes to Goldberg. I feel like there was probably more planned out, and Goldberg was like, nope, that's it. But yeah, I feel like the fans got what they wanted out of that match. I think that it didn't make Goldberg look weak. I think that it made Lesnar look just as dominant as he's always looked. So no complaints with that match whatsoever at all either.
Okay. All right, the main event, Roman Reigns took on Weekend at Bernie's. He took on Undertaker in a 23-minute match.
Hold on. Did you just call the Undertaker Weekend at Bernie's?
I mean, seriously, Roman Reigns, I'm not putting down Undertaker's accomplishments at all in his 65-year career. But Roman Reigns had to lead Undertaker through that. He had to force him into spots. It looked bad. It looked bad to me.
Come on.
What is your opinion?
I feel that when you say Roman Reigns was trying to lead him to spots, I think it was more Roman Reigns being young and full of piss and vinegar was rushing the match. Like, that was a match that he didn't have to rush. There was a couple of spots in that match. There was a couple of moments in that match where you could tell that Roman Reigns was ready to go 100 miles an hour and the Undertaker had to storm down and like, no, wait, chill, calm down. Being an older guy, I'm in my mid-30s and stuff. I've been wrestling for 10 years and stuff. A lot of times you get in the ring with these kids who are young and they're athletic and they're ready to go. And you have to tell them sometimes, like, hey, kid, slow down. If you think you're going too slow, slow down. You ask any wrestler, any vet in this business, and they'll tell you that's the number one thing to remember when you're in the ring. If you feel like you're going too slow, slow down. Because your natural instinct is to start rushing and moving faster. When you move faster, people miss out on it.
Let me give you a time out right now. Time out, Huck. You're talking about Roman Reigns. This is literally his third WrestleMania main event in a row. And you're trying to tell me that he was trying to rush through things? He's not a young kid. This is his third WrestleMania main event in a row.
Okay, but how much time does he have? It doesn't matter how many main events you have. How much time does he have in the business? You know what I'm saying? You have to think that The Miz has been in WWE longer than Roman Reigns has. He has more experience than he does. Of course, Roman Reigns is in the main. Roman Reigns is in the main event because that's the spot they put him in. It's not that he's the best worker. It's not that he's the best draw. It's the fact that that's the spot they put him in. It has nothing to do with his ability. It's the fact of that's the story that they're telling.
So it has nothing to do with his draw that it's just because they put him in the main event that he's main evented WrestleMania.
Okay, let me correct that. Let me correct that. It's not that he can't draw. I'm not saying that he's not a draw, because he is. Fans hate him. Whether they're booing or cheering, it's still a reaction. It's still a draw. Whether it's a positive reaction or negative reaction, fans are still paying money. But he's still very green in this business. You know what I'm saying? He's still like he was in NXT or was it FCW for 2 years before he got called into the main roster?
Something like that.
Yeah. So we'll say 2 years. So he's been on the main roster for 4 years now?
No, a little longer than that.
Okay, we'll say 5 years. So technically, he's only been wrestling for 7 years. You know what I'm saying? He's still not experienced. There's still a lot of stuff that he doesn't know. You know what I'm saying? At this point in time, he is where The Rock was wrestling with Stone Cold, and there was a lot of times. If you go back and you watch those old matches with Stone Cold and The Rock, there was times when Stone Cold would fucking punch The Rock in the face to make him slow down. Just because The Rock was so ready to go. The Rock was in the main event or at the very top of the card, week in, week out, WrestleMania every year, and Stone Cold had to slow him down. There's just some things that you learn as time progresses. Not saying that Roman Reigns will not be a fantastic wrestler within the next 5 or 10 years, because he definitely will. He's going to have an amazing run in WWE, and I couldn't be happier for him. As far as this match goes, I think that this was Undertaker's match, and he wanted to have his match his way. He's going out, look at the way he goes out, and if he's going to do the favor on his way out the door, then kid, hey, look, let me grab you by the fucking ear and let me show you how to run a match with minimum moves and maximum emotion.
Okay, let me ask you this: how many of Undertaker's 25 WrestleMania appearances has he been in the final match?
Not many. I think. Let's see. There's the one where he was with Edge, right?
Yeah.
The heavyweight title with Edge. I'm trying to think. Was he the main event with Batista?
No.
I can't remember. I'll say maybe 3 or 4, maybe.
He's been in 4 main events of WrestleMania, the 25-year span. And Roman Reigns has been in the main event, the last match, and the last 3. Okay.
It's a different time. It's a different era. And you also have to think that a lot of times when he was wrestling Shawn Michaels and Triple H and Rick, that stand when he was wrestling Shawn Michaels twice and Triple H and stuff, in my opinion, those matches were the main event. People, before the streak was broken, go ahead.
One of those was, 2010 when Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, where it was the streak versus career. That was
but like I said, there's no way that nobody can tell me, this was probably, that was the match to close the show out, period. That was the perfect match to close the show out, without a shadow of a doubt. And huge kudos to the rest of the guys in the back and stuff who put their egos aside, and showed the respect and stuff, showed the respect that the Undertaker deserved, to let him go out his last match in WWE being the main event at WrestleMania. That's a huge honor, and that's a big kudos to all the boys and stuff in the back, because obviously, whoever wins the Royal Rumble is supposed to be the main event at WrestleMania. But I was really glad that this was the match that ended it. Are you telling me, James, that you did not enjoy that? Are you? Huh?
And somebody, there's no way they couldn't have followed that moment. So it definitely deserved to be the last match.
Yes. I'm about to say, are you trying to tell me that you didn't enjoy that match, James?
It was okay. To me, it was 23 minutes of Roman Reigns muscling Undertaker around. That's just the way I saw it. I have different eyes than you. Let me tell you my feelings about Undertaker, and I hope that our listeners don't think that I'm hating on the Undertaker. We get any bad press from this. When the Undertaker came to the WWF, I didn't see him as this larger-than-life figure. I saw him as Mean Mark Callis, the guy who replaced Sid in the Skyscrapers. Okay? That's who I saw the Undertaker as. I never bought into this larger-than-life persona that he did. So, I think I'm just a little too old to be the demographic that's like, oh, Undertaker's been around for 25 years, we're going to miss him. He meant everything to my childhood. I kind of saw him as a guy. I never saw him as the main event guy. I never saw him as the head of the company. You know, I never saw him as the leader of the WWF. Now that happened over time because he stuck around, and I appreciate all that he's done. But I just never saw him as the guy. So let's hear your feelings on it, because I have a feeling that you feel a lot differently than I do.
Somewhat, I'll say I'll agree with half of what you said, because we're in the same age range. We're in the same age demographic range. So, yeah, when he first got to WWE, you know, myself, I thought it was really cheesy. It was like, oh, he's a funeral home director who's wrestles. Like, in my opinion at the time, that's when WWE was doing all those outlandish gimmicks. You know, like the dumpster guy, the repo man, and Bastion Booger and stuff. And they were just throwing all these outlandish characters out there. Maybe it wasn't until I really didn't become a huge Undertaker fan until the American Badass gimmick, when he was riding on the bike and stuff. And that's when I really started to, you know, warm up to the Undertaker. And then as time progresses and stuff, and he starts getting older, and you know, and the Cenas and the Ortons and Edge and everybody started coming in and stuff, is when I really started respecting him. Being a part of the business now, you know, unfortunately, and Zane, and I'm pretty sure our producer Killer Kev has seen that. One of the saddest things you can see in wrestling is a guy who has wrestled past his time, and not saying, oh, there's a certain age limit to where guys shouldn't wrestle anymore. Because if you look at Japanese wrestling, a lot of their older wrestlers who are in their 50s and 60s are still putting on really good matches and stuff. Gato and Jado and Masawa, not Masawa, but, you know, Gato, Jado, a lot of their older guys and stuff are still putting on great, fantastic matches. They're still athletic as shit. But here in America, you know, you see these shows, especially in the Indies, you see guys who should have stopped wrestling, you know, 10, 20 years ago, and now they're, you know, a shell of their former selves. So that was my big concern for The Undertaker. Like, when he wrestled Brock Lesnar, I will admit, I looked at my buddy Joe Black, and I was like, man, like, maybe he should have stopped last year. You know, maybe he really should have stopped after he wrestled Triple H, because he just looks bad now. You know, he looked really old. He looked really small. He didn't have that whole larger-than-life persona and stuff. And then the last, you know, year or two, he's looked pretty good. For me, for this match, I think that it was more of the John Wayne, you know, old-school gunslinger making his last stand against, you know, the young upcoming gunslinger stuff. It's like, hey, look, if you want this spot, you got to take this spot. No matter how old I am, you know, I still have some fight left in me, whatever the case may be, and making the kid earn it, you know what I'm saying? Emotionally, I really enjoyed the last couple of years with The Undertaker. It was a great lesson. For me as a wrestler, it was a great lesson to learn. As a wrestling fan, I can understand how a lot of people on social media, yourself included, was like, hey, you know, he should have retired, you know, 5-10 years ago. He's way past his prime. I can understand that from a physical standpoint, and as a fan from the outside looking in. As a wrestler, you know, if you watch his last couple of years, there's certain nuances that you can pick up. For me, for this year, and I posted it on Twitter and stuff, I hope my biggest thing from this match is that I hope that a lot of the boys and girls who actually are wrestlers, I hope that they learn a huge lesson watching the end of that match. Do you know what I'm talking about, Zane? Zane? Kev?
Where he left his gloves in the ring?
Before that, there's one of the first things I learned when I first started training to be a wrestler was the old saying goes, you come into this business on your back, and you leave this business on your back. Yeah. And when after the pin, it was very symbolic for me. Like, after the pin, how he just laid there and just looked up at the lights. You know, it was very symbolic of, you know, he's going out on his back and doing business the right way. You know, we've seen examples of guys not doing the favor on their way out the door. You've seen that. But it's something about seeing a lot of these old school guys, him, Ric Flair, you know, Shawn Michaels, guys, paying homage and stuff to the business that's given him so much. And then to watch him take his gloves off, take off his jacket, put his hat in the ring, to me was the same as, on the indies and stuff. They always tell you your last match when you're done wrestling, you sit in the ring, you take your boots off, and you leave your boots in the middle of the ring. That was very symbolic. I know that The Undertaker couldn't sit down in the middle of the ring and take his boots off in the middle of the ring and stuff, but him taking off his gloves and his jacket and his hat and stuff was the same thing for me. And I hope that a lot of people, a lot of wrestlers and stuff, actually learn a valuable lesson from watching that match.
Gav, what were your thoughts on Undertaker leaving the ring?
Really interesting thing. I'm pretty much in agreement with Will that he went out the right way, and taking off the hat and the coat and everything was a gesture. And really, it was a great symbolic gesture that I really appreciated. I saw a comment online the other day that somebody had wished that The Undertaker got a big retirement ceremony on Raw the next night, like Ric Flair did when he retired. And I kind of had to point out that that's really not how wrestlers really retire. One of the things you have to remember with Ric Flair is that he didn't want to retire. And Vince McMahon was just adamant that, yeah, you're not going to be a wrestler here anymore, and we're not going to release you from your contract so you can go wrestle and embarrass yourself somewhere else. So, yeah, we're retiring you. So they built an angle around it, essentially. They made it a big thing for TV, to at least be something meaningful in some kind of way. But that's not how wrestlers typically retire. How Undertaker went out was a great way. And really just this guy bringing up this comment really kind of contrasts a little bit the differences between Ric Flair and most other wrestlers, I think. Really, when you think about Ric Flair, he doesn't have a personality other than Ric Flair. And Undertaker is just a personality of Mark Calloway. Ric Flair doesn't really have anything of interest, or anything separate outside of wrestling. Ric Flair is wrestling, and wrestling is Ric Flair for the most part. And those two are pretty much going to be intertwined for the rest of his life, literally until he dies. Mark Calloway, on the other hand, he's a husband. He's a father. He's developed other business interests and other personal interests outside of wrestling that he's been pursuing the last few years as his wrestling career has come down. So I think it's really symbolic that taking off the hat and the gloves and the jacket and on, leaving that in the middle of the ring, symbolizes that portion of Mark Calloway's life is done. The character was born in WWE. It stays in WWE. It's not going with him anywhere. He's done with that. He's leaving that behind. And really, I personally think that we are not ever going to really see Mark Calloway, Undertaker, have anything to do with wrestling after this point. I think you might see him like maybe at Cauliflower Alley Club meeting, just to be with other wrestlers and friends that he's made over the years. I'd say you'd probably see him at like WWE Hall of Fame ceremony, just to be a presence. And that's not even accounting for when he's eventually going to go in. He's going to go in. But, I don't see him coming back for, one last match. I don't see him deciding to resurrect his wrestling career. I don't see him going and doing any indie shows. I don't see him doing autograph signings at wrestling shows or Comic Cons or anything like that. I think he's really ready to just move on into a private life, away from wrestling, away from the fans, and just be Mark.
All right. Good points, Killer Cav. All right. Will, I think I know your answer to this, but what was your favorite either return or debut to the main roster the nights following WrestleMania?
The Raw, followed like that Monday night?
Well, either Raw or SmackDown, which there were returns or debuts on both.
Without a shadow of a doubt, my moment, the moment that I've been dying to see for years now, has been seeing the revival. Dawson and Dash Wilder on the main roster, man. And when they debuted on Raw, I jumped out of my seat. I called Cedric I called Cedric Alexander. I called, I messaged, Joe Black. I messaged a bunch of guys like, yo, are you watching this? Like, because as a friend, as a wrestler and stuff, it's always great to see your buddies make it. It's always great to see somebody that either you got into the business with or somebody who mentored you in the business, whatever. It's so great to see them accomplish something. And, the Revival is such a great dominant tag team. We've talked about them several times on this podcast and on previous podcasts about how good and how solid of a team they are. It was so good to see them. Followed very closely, very, very closely by Nakamura debuting on SmackDown the very next night. But if I had to pick one, it has to be the Revival showing up on Raw and just decimating Enzo and Cass. Oh, I'm sorry, the New Day. Decimating the New Day. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was my favorite also, and that's what I assumed that you would say. I thought that was great. I thought that's pretty much a perfect debut for a tag team in these days. Beating the New Day, who was the most dominant tag team over the last 2 years. Set up an injury angle with Kofi, so maybe he's taking some time off, but it makes them look stronger. I think that they will hopefully revitalize the tag team division on Raw, along with the Hardy Boys. I'm interested that with this superstar shakeup, if American Alpha will be coming over to Raw so we can get some more American Alpha and Revival action going on, because that's the only thing that's missing out of this equation right now for me involving the Revival. I liked Nakamura's debut. If you've never seen him before, if you're not an NXT or New Japan watcher, that was a really cool debut for him, not showing anything in the ring, just his entrance, and what an entrance it was. My only issue with it should have closed out the show instead of the Wyatt family tag team match. But I thought that was a great debut for him also. Ty Dillinger taking on Kurt Hawkins. Okay, Ty Dillinger beat a jobber. Where's that going to lead to? Hopefully he'll get a decent shot. But I'm not expecting a whole lot. Finn Balor came back. I thought that was cool. And it didn't really make much sense storyline-wise for him to come back to help out Seth Rollins, who injured him in the first place. And that was never discussed. Why Seth Rollins was in the match anyway, when the night before he had a 25-minute match that doctors wouldn't clear him for, but the very next night he was cleared to compete in a tag team match. It was just weird storyline to me. And another thing about Raw, I loved Kurt Angle's interaction with Enzo and Cass. I thought that was amazing. Great classic Kurt Angle work on the microphone, and we hadn't seen that in years in TNA. So I was very happy with that. Any other points that you want to bring up about either Raw or SmackDown?
I think that they don't need American Alpha at Raw and stuff. I think that American Alpha is. When I look at the rosters and stuff, I kind of look at SmackDown as being the place where the young, flashy fly. Like, to me, SmackDown is the faster paced show than Raw. I think that you put the more established guys on Raw, and then on SmackDown you put these fucking guys, the young talent who's going out there having great classic matches and stuff, and high energy, fast paced matches. They belong on Raw. Getting back to what you said about the Revival, the biggest thing I love about the Revival is that they're so believable. That they really remind you of a 1980s tag team. They're very similar to the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard and stuff. I would definitely agree with you. I think that Nakamura should have closed out SmackDown Live. I couldn't understand why they would put that in the middle of the show, basically, and then end it with the Wyatt family. I don't understand that whatsoever. As far as the superstar shakeup goes, I'm not a fan of that whatsoever. I think that Raw and SmackDown they have finally created their own identities. You know, you can now separate the two. This is a SmackDown match. This is a Raw match. This is what a Raw show looks like. This is what a SmackDown show looks like. And I can't agree with them messing with that formula right now. Like, they've just established these two separate entities, to where now the fans can kind of decide which show is better, and they have this huge competition going on. I believe that there's somebody in the main office who may or may not be worried about the popularity of SmackDown Live. I don't have any access to ratings right now, but I would like to think that SmackDown probably has just as many views, or just the ratings are just as high for SmackDown Live as it is for Raw. And I feel like somebody's worried about that. Hence the reason for the Superstar shakeup. I think it's stupid. I think that they should just leave the rosters alone as they are, and just keep the trade. You know, I'm a big fan of it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And right now, with the rosters the way they are, they're not broken whatsoever. So why try to fix them?
Well, I'll tell you, as soon as AJ Styles came out with his new shirt, which was just like his old shirt, except instead of blue accents, it's red accents now. I looked at my son, I said, I bet AJ's going to Raw soon because he's got a new Raw t-shirt. And then the next night they talk about the Superstar shakeup. So I always look at silly things like that, but I think that AJ's going to end up on Raw, and I don't know what they're doing with that, because Cena's going to be gone for a long time, either with other projects or whatever. And if they move AJ over to Raw, then they're going to really need some names to go over to SmackDown to make it even. So who knows with that. All right, we've been talking a very long time about WrestleMania and Raw and SmackDown. Were there any other highlights for Mania weekend other than WWE product for you?
Just being on Facebook and being on social media, and seeing, the results for all of the great shows, indie shows and stuff that was going on, seeing, guys and girls down there having a great time. I really didn't hear too many problems. I heard that there might have been, some disgruntled fans at a couple of Evolve shows, because the cards got, advertised matches were changed around and stuff. But as wrestling fans, we always know that card is subject to change. Guys get hurt. Guys might get signed somewhere else, whatever the case. Shit happens, and cards get, the matches get changed up. But for the most part, it was really cool, with the exception with two exceptions, and we're not going to talk about them whatsoever. This was a pretty incident-free WrestleMania week. It was exactly what a WrestleMania week should be. It was full of, wrestling and guys having fun and representing the business correctly and stuff, and great matches and awesome talent being seen by fans from all over the world and stuff. And local economies really getting the boost that they need. So it was a great week for wrestling.
I got to say my highlight. I haven't seen any of these matches yet, but our friend Trip Cassidy went down and is the first ever Punk Pro wrestling champion, and he defended that title like 3 or 4 times over the weekend. So congratulations to the Blue-Eyed Devil, Trip Cassidy. Great guy, and proud of what he did this weekend.
Yeah, I like Trip Cassidy. Well, I kind of like Trip Cassidy. He's a member of the Carnies, which is a stable with him, Team IOU, and Priscilla Kelly. Trip Cassidy, it's so cool to see, like, within the last 12 months, how the dichotomy of professional wrestling, especially in the indies, has changed, where guys that you didn't hear anything about really within, like, a year or two before are now some of the top guys in the indie scene. Guys like Trip Cassidy, Congo Kong being in Impact Wrestling and stuff, Sugar D, you got all these companies such as Punk Pro and NWL, St. Louis, and all these other companies popping up. Like, it's really cool to see how how the face of wrestling has changed. We both know, 2, 3, maybe 4 years ago, a guy with the look and the size of Trip Cassidy would not be the top guy really anywhere. So it's really refreshing to see wrestling companies giving smaller guys like him, and guys who aren't necessarily body guys with the bodybuilder look. It's really refreshing to see companies giving guys like Trip Cassidy the rub and stuff and making them their top guy in the face of the company.
Yes. Hey, do you know a famous person that Trip Cassidy helped train?
Who is that?
She made her debut on NXT this week.
Oh, of course, Heidi Lovelace. Duh.
Who?
I don't know. What is her wrestling? What's her WWE name or her NXT name?
Ruby
now?
Riott. Ruby Riott.
She'll always be Heidi to me. I have the hardest time. I'm like, man, like that's the worst part about WWE and NXT is like you've known these people for years as this name, and then they get signed, and you're like, oh God, who is this person again? What's her name? What's his name? Whatever. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So this Friday I will be at Wrestling Theology Fellowship at Mercy Road Church in Carmel, Indiana. Free show. Donations at the door, please. Meet the Impact Wrestling Knockouts champion, Rosemary. Meet Ricardo Rodriguez. Meet Cody Deaner. And meet WWE Hall of Famer Bushwhacker Luke. That is Friday night. Sunday, I will be at Heroes and Legends with Bushwhacker Luke, Ric Flair, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and a host of others. Saturday night, Will, tell them where we'll be.
Saturday night we'll be in Valparaiso, Indiana. How do you pronounce the name of that place?
Inman's Bowling Alley.
Inman's Bowling Alley, Valparaiso, Indiana. Smash Funk Wrestling presents Smash Fest. Bushwhacker Luke, Raven, the American Wolves facing off against each other. North Carolina wrestling legend Shannon Moore. Let's see who else. Myself in the six-pack challenge for the Smash Funk Heavyweight title. Versus Sugar Dunckerton from Atlanta, Georgia, Troy Miller, GPA, WWE legend Marty Jannetty, and that punk-ass Drew Skills, the current, but soon-to-be former, Smash Funk Heavyweight Wrestling Champion.
If you are anywhere in Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, you need to be at that show. It's going to be an amazing show. Well worth your travel. Come there, see Will Huckabee, and all these other great stars. Should be a fantastic weekend of wrestling. All right.
Hold on. Not only that, but you will probably see the Bearded Wonder being my personal ring announcer.
Hey, let's make it happen.
We're totally going to make that happen, Kev. I wish Kev could be there. I'm telling you, Kev, it's going to happen. We might record it so we can put it on the Facebook page.
Be where?
Valparaiso, Indiana.
Yeah.
When again?
Saturday night, this Saturday, Smash Mouth Pro Wrestling presents Smash Fest.
Oh, yeah.
Inman's Bowling Alley in Valparaiso, Indiana. Huge card, should be a huge fun.
Unfortunately, I will be about 40 miles away from Atlantic City for work all weekend.
Well, you should call in. That's all I'm saying. It's worth losing your job over. It's going to be an amazing show.
Maybe if I was still working at Walmart or working at Pizza Hut or something. Yeah, but I must respectfully decline.
Okay, all right, guys. Well, another fantastic show. Thank you so much to our awesome producer, Killer Kev. Thank you to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.